Here I am in the incredible Peruvian city of Cusco, about to embark on one of the most challenging journeys of my life, the 4-day hike through the soaring Andes Mountains to reach the ancient ruined city of Machu Picchu. However, this is not the first time I've been here or have attempted to do this. In fact, last time I was in Peru, it ended in disaster, during which time I genuinely feared for my safety. I've been a history teacher for almost 15 years, but I can pinpoint the exact moment when I fell in love with the past as a child. When I was 6 years old, there was an animated children's television show called The Mysterious Cities of Gold. It was set in the 16th century and followed a young Spanish boy as he travelled to the New World and encountered the wonders and the mysteries of the ancient civilizations of the Inca and the Maya. I remember one particular episode where the main characters walked along Inca roads high in the Andes Mountains and discovered the hidden city of Machu Picchu. I was instantly obsessed. For the rest of my life, I dreamed of one day visiting Machu Picchu for myself. However, growing up in an incredibly poor family and living in Australia meant that the sheer distance of travelling to Peru and the cost of such a venture meant that I never really thought I would ever make that dream come true. But I never stopped holding on to the hope of one day undertaking the famous trek along the ancient Inca roads that ended at Machu Picchu itself. In fact, it would take 35 years until the chance of doing that finally became a real possibility. To mark my 40th birthday, I finally decided the time was right to potentially live my dream. However, things did not go as planned. At the time, I arranged to visit Peru for a 3-week tour that would take me to all of the famous sites I had fallen in love with from the cities of gold. It was an incredible experience to see the mysterious Nazca lines etched into the desert floor, and to visit the floating man-made reed islands on Lake Titicaca, and to marvel at the incredible sun temple of Coricancha in the Inca capital of Cusco. The entire trip was to culminate in a trek to visit Machu Picchu, and would be the moment I was waiting for my entire life. The day before the trek was due to begin, we had travelled to the ancient Inca town of Ollantaytambo. However, that night, our tour guide woke us from our beds and told us the terrible news. Political unrest had broken out in Peru and civilians had taken to the streets to violently protest. They had cut off roads all across the country and attacked vehicles travelling on them. Also, they had sabotaged the railway leading to Machu Picchu, meaning that no one could travel in or out. We were told that we were stuck in Ollantaytambo until the Peruvian government could restore order. Sadly, our tour was cancelled and our attention now turned to getting out of the country safely. After 3 days of isolation in the town with dwindling food supplies, we were finally evacuated back to Cusco, where the nearest airport was. However, it had also been attacked by protesters, so we had to bunker down there for another 3 days while the military was sent in to secure the airport. Eventually, we were able to board a plane and start heading back home. After a grueling 36 hours of flying, I arrived safely back in Australia. However, my dream of seeing Machu Picchu had been shattered. The heartbreaking way my trip of a lifetime had collapsed around me continued to play on my mind. So 18 months later, an opportunity arose where I could potentially complete the journey I had begun. This time, I would experience the famous 4-day hike to Machu Picchu. Since the original trip had already been 3 weeks long, I'd only been going to do the 1-day hike to get there. Now, I would fly into Cusco, prepare for 2 days, and then undertake the full 4-day journey on foot and reach my final destination before flying home again. This would be all about getting to Machu Picchu. However, I think I seriously underestimated the incredible challenge of what lay before me during those 4 days. That is why I'm here today, to prepare myself for the most amazing and difficult experience I've ever faced.
Come to Peru in June, they said. It's dry season, they said, and it never rains. For 3 days now it's been raining, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't rain when I get to Machu Picchu.
One of the things I had to realise very quickly is that the opportunity to walk on the real Inca roads to get to Machu Picchu is actually a really difficult physical challenge. Many people who have no interest in history undertake the 4-day Inca trail hike as an endurance event. As a result, I learnt that there is some serious physical training that is recommended for people doing it. This is because the Inca Trail snakes through the incredibly high Andes mountain range. You're walking at altitudes between 3,000 and 4,000 metres high. At those levels, oxygen is much thinner in the air, and your body works much harder than it normally does, especially when undertaking physically demanding activities. Even simple things like walking can really wear you out. So, spending a few days in Peru at those altitudes allows your body to begin to adjust and prepare for the trek. Many people even experience something called altitude sickness, which is a range of symptoms people feel when in lower oxygen environments. That is why I arrived in Cusco 2 days early, to give my body time to adjust to the environment and to overcome any altitude sickness before I begin the journey.
It's my first day back in Cusco. It's a beautiful city. You can see the mountains in the background and the cool architecture and the cool colours of the street. But there are so many stairs and it's killing me, and the altitude sickness has hit me hard this time. Maybe think those stairs are bad. Let me show you where I'm going. I'm going up these stairs and every step I take just takes it out of me. Must be hard to get the oxygen and the air that you need to climb these stairs. And they just keep going.
Amazingly, when I was there, the city was preparing for the biggest festival of the year, the Inti Raymi. This is the festival of the sun. So as I walked around the streets getting used to the environment, I was able to enjoy a feast of dancing and music. The day before our trek was due to begin, I met the group I'd be hiking with, and then we caught a bus out of Cusco and headed to the Sacred Valley. So we left Cusco this morning and we're driving through the Sacred Valley to get to Ollantaytambo. Cusco was the ancient capital of the Inca Empire, and there is a road running through the Sacred Valley that gets us to Machu Picchu. And this finally had a break in the rainy weather, but we've taken a pause here in the bus and have a look at this view. In the background, you can see all those snow-capped mountains. Because it's winter here at the moment, you can see snow that I didn't see on my first trip. Well, I finally made it back to Ollantaytambo. This was the town that I was stuck in for 4 days when the political unrest broke out. And I'm back now checking out the ancient ruins. So this is the ancient site of Ollantaytambo, and you can see there's lots of terracing where the Inca would have grown crops, but now it's kind of crawling with tourists as they climb over the site to check out all the different constructions that are here. So in the distance over here you can see that the train station where everyone leaves from is kind of over there, but tomorrow we'll catch a short bus ride to the start of our trek.
It's the morning of the first day of the trek, and I didn't sleep very well last night. I think I woke up every 2 hours. I'm clearly stressing about the walk. I'm sure it'll all go okay, but first day jitters. Just need to wake up and make sure I can do and get through the first day.
So this is all I'll have access to for the next 4 days. The day backpack over here, which is what I'll carry with me on the hike, and I'll have everything I need during the day, so the water that I'll drink, the food that I'll eat, any medicine, any emergency supplies. While the duffel bag, the porters kindly carry for us. It has any spare clothes, all our toiletries, the things we only have access to at night. So it helps alleviate the weight that we have during the day, but it means that we need to be very careful with what we pack and what we carry, so that we're not carrying more than we need to as we hike through the Andes. Today was the long-awaited first day of the trek. We woke up at 5 a.m, did the final packing, had breakfast and was ready for the 7 a.m. start. We took a bus to the trek entrance at a place called Kilometre 82. It is here that all of the hikers from all of the different tour groups would do their final preparations. At 9 a.m. we finally crossed the bridge over the Urubamba River and the walk finally began.
The bridge is bouncy, I'm fearing for my life. But this bridge is the start of the Inca Trail, so day one begins. nice and sunny. Let's see how far we go.
The first hour was a very flat path, and we quickly saw our first Inca ruins on the other side of the river. For the next 3 hours we were in the dry lowlands. There was quite a few other people on the track as a number of locals lived here.
Alright, day one of the trek is supposed to be the easiest, so it's relatively flat, but we're covering about 12 kilometres today, and there's going to be some cool sights like this along the way, but a lot of it is just pretty much straight walking. So this is preparing us for day two, which is apparently the worst day of all, so we'll see how we go for this day.
We even had a morning tea at a dedicated rest stop. We also learnt about the cochineal parasite found on local cacti that the Inca used to dye their clothes a bright red colour. However, as we continued walking, the number of people and buildings gradually disappeared as we travelled further away from civilization. Although there were a lot of people still on the track with us, as the hikers from all the different tour groups kept passing each other frequently. It is the porters who are the most remarkable of all the people on the track. They carried so much weight for us and ran ahead of our group to set up the campsites and prepare our meals. They truly were incredible.
After almost 4 hours of walking, we finally made it to our lunch destination. Time to relax. That was my first climb, and it was tough. I can feel the lack of oxygen, and that's only the first day.
We got to our campsite at 3:30 PM and finally rested. Well, it's the end of the first day of hiking, so we covered 12 kilometres today. There were some challenging spots. The most challenging part is learning that we've only gone up 300 metres in elevation across those 12 kilometres. And today was the easy day. So day two apparently is the worst day, where for the first 5 hours or so of the day we just head upstairs the whole time. And once you pass the second day, apparently it gets much easier again. So tomorrow, instead of covering 12 kilometres, we do 10 kilometres. And instead of going up 300 metres in elevation across that time, we go up 1,000 metres. So we go up almost a kilometre in elevation across tomorrow. So we're hoping to get a hearty meal tonight, sleep well after the long walk today, and face the most difficult day of the trek. We then had the opportunity to meet our porters and our cooks who were taking care of us before enjoying an incredible dinner made by them. Day 2 started at 5:30 AM with cocoa tea being delivered to our tents. It apparently helps with the altitude sickness on this, the most difficult day of the tour. We began walking at 7 AM with a target of reaching Dead Woman's Pass by midday. It would be 7 kilometres and an increase in elevation of 1,000 metres. For almost 5 straight hours we climbed uphill. We're not even 200 metres from the campsite and already it's straight uphill, so it's a tough start to day 2. Don't know whether I'm ready for what this has in store for me. Wish me luck. There were so many steps. Every time we would turn a corner, there was another long set of stone stairs waiting for us. Alright, we've been walking for 45 minutes uphill and we've just caught the sight of where we're headed. So the highest point here is called Dead Woman's Pass, and up there you can see a tall mountain. You can see Dead Woman's Pass there. That's where we're headed, but we've still got another 9 kilometers to go. So even though it looks relatively flat now, it's going to increase in elevation very, very quickly. We had a morning tea break at the last ever dedicated rest stop. This was the final opportunity for people to buy drinks, snacks and provisions they needed for the next 2 days. In fact, from this spot we could look up to Dead Woman's Pass in the distance, and we could even see the tiny silhouettes of people at the top. Alright, we've been walking for 3 hours. We've gone up about 600 or 700 meters in elevation, so we've still got Dead Woman's Pass behind us, just up here, though we still haven't reached. We've got another 400 meters in elevation to go, and that will apparently take another 2 hours to get there, so we've still got a long hike to go. But when we started walking again, everything got much harder. There are thousands of stairs, and they were relentless. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get these video recordings to accurately show just how steep these stairs are. Every video makes them look relatively gentle in slope, when in real life, they are murderously inclined. We've been walking for hours now, and it feels like the stairs never end. And you're so busy trying to catch your breath and survive that it's easy to forget to look around at the scenery and see the amazing environment that we're in. It's an incredible place to do a hike, even if I'm struggling to get enough oxygen. And there's still more stairs to go. The longer we walked, the slower we became. I was taking a step every 3 seconds. It was painfully slow going, and it felt like we would never reach the summit. Been going for another hour, and it doesn't seem like it's any closer than it was before. It's got to end soon. So the second stage of the walk to Dead Woman's Pass, so after our break at the little campsite down there, there's less stairs, but it's definitely a steeper incline. So I'm going to guess this is somewhere around 45 degrees, and you can see everyone's walking nice and slowly to try and compensate. And to make things worse, I can see the next set of stairs ahead. So slow and steady wins the race. We're getting closer to the top, so you can see the trail of people along that green line heading up to the gap up there, so we can see where we want to get to. It's just a very slow process, very slow steps to get there. Such slow going. Each step takes so much out of you. Your legs are tired. Doesn't feel like you can get your lungs full of oxygen. And it just doesn't feel like the end gets any closer. But we can see the pass just up ahead and the people at the top. So you just got to keep going. We're so close. We can see the top of the pass right there. You can see the people in yellow. That's where we need to be. And this is the last set of stairs. And I know it doesn't look very long. That's going to be another 20 minutes before I get to the top. Every breath is a challenge at this altitude. We're at 4,000 meters, but we're almost there. However, we finally made it to the top at midday, and it felt like a monumental achievement. Finally reached the top of Dead Woman's Pass. 5 hours of climbing stairs non-stop. And then we've got this to look forward to. It's all downhill this afternoon. The descent was slow, but easier. For some, the long descent down the stairs was much tougher on their bodies. Their feet and knees ached from constantly bracing themselves. However, the incredible scenery and amazing sights around us helped to motivate us despite our dwindling energies. After 2 hours of downward steps, we had had enough for the day. Thankfully, we reached the campsite at 2 p.m. and had lunch. 7 hours after starting from our campsite this morning, we're finally at our campsite for tonight. I think it was at this point that we really appreciated how good our cooks and porters were. Since there is no electricity or facilities on the trail, all of our food and cooking items needed to be carried by them. Regardless, the food they made was incredible. We were worn out after a massive day and were glad to have survived the worst.
Well, today was an absolutely massive day. I'm so glad that we got through the Dead Woman's Pass, that we got through the toughest day out of the three. But even though we did the tough day today, there's apparently an even bigger day today, not so much in the altitude, but in distance. So we're travelling for about 16 kilometres tomorrow, so we'll have an early start. We won't get to their campsite until very late, so it's still going to be a big day before we get to see Machu Picchu. But the toughest of all the days is over, so all we got to do now is have a good sleep tonight and start early again in the morning. See you then.
It was a freezing cold night, at around -4 degrees Celsius, and sadly I didn't sleep very well. I woke twice and was able to take some incredible photos of what it was like at night time in the Andes. We all woke up at 5:30 and began the hike at 7 a.m. However, the hike up over the nearby ridge was just as bad as yesterday. Halfway up, we visited the small Inca ruins of Runku, which was a way station for the running messengers of the Inca Empire. As we continued up the ridge, we had a break at a sacred lake high in the mountains. It was peaceful and a great way to catch our breath. Finally, after several hours, we reached the peak of the ridge. Now we had another long walk down many more steps. We reached the Inca fortress of Sayaxmarca, which was also considered a holy site to the mountains. It was never discovered by the Spanish conquerors, so it is an incredibly preserved set of ruins, and the views it had over the valley below were breathtaking. Once past the ruins, the landscape we travelled through changed dramatically. It was now a cooler cloud forest and was technically the start of the Amazon. Unfortunately, we had to start climbing up again towards the mountain where Machu Picchu is located. The lush rainforests and cool sights were a nice change though. I just found myself looking around at the spectacular views all the time. The Andes are truly massive and the scale of the landscape around you is mind-blowing. It is difficult to even convey their awesomeness in a video like this. We finally reached the top of the last mountain at 2 p.m. where we had some lunch. The heat was getting to us, so we started the final descent not long after. The stairs down were really steep and exhausting. We eventually reached the final Inca site of Inti Pata, which was truly amazing. It was an agricultural settlement with massive terracing which grew a variety of crops, which many believe were used to feed the people of Machu Picchu itself, which is located very close by. Then only after a short walk further, we're at our final campsite. We finally made it to the campsite of the third day of the trek. It was a long, hard day.
But we've made it, so we're ready to see Machu Picchu tomorrow. Machu Picchu is literally just behind that mountain, so just behind that ridge. So we're going to wake up very early in the morning, walk in the dark to get to the opening gates in time. And finally, after all of the effort, we're finally going to get to see Machu Picchu.
Our group went to bed knowing that we needed to wake up at 3 a.m. and pack straight away to get ready at the entrance gate to the site. As a result, we all slept poorly. It was made worse by rain on our tents at 1 a.m. I didn't sleep much after that and got up at 2:30 a.m. to pack and be ready. Everyone else was up by 3 a.m. We then rushed down to the entrance and lined up. We weren't the first group there, but we were close to the front. We then just sat around and waited for another 2.5 hours until the gates to the site finally opened. When we were finally allowed in at 5:30 a.m, we still had to hike for 2 hours to reach the first stages of Machu Picchu. We started our walk in the darkness and used our head torches to light our way along the stone path.
It's 6:15 in the morning. Been awake for over 3 hours already and hiking the last stretch to Machu Picchu. We've got a massive set of stairs coming up apparently before we even get to see the city. So hoping to make it before sunrise. Let's see how lucky we are.
We eventually reached the steep monkey steps climb, where people had to scramble on their hands and feet to reach the top. Then we finally reached the famous Sun Gate, where we could see Machu Picchu for the very first time.
Here it is, 4 days of terrible hiking, 37 years later, and here's Machu Picchu.
To reach the city though, it took another hour to then descend to the proper entrance before we were finally able to walk into Machu Picchu itself. However, by 11:30 in the morning, we were all utterly exhausted and tired. We then left Machu Picchu and boarded a bus that took us down to Aguas Calientes. With our trek done, we caught the train back to Ollantaytambo, where we got in minibuses and drove back to Cusco. My incredible 4-day journey was over, and I had finally visited Machu Picchu. So what was it like to finally live out a dream you've had for your entire life? For months leading up to this trip, I wondered what emotions I would feel at the moment I saw Machu Picchu for the very first time, or what it would be like walking its streets and touching stones laid by the Inca 500 years ago. Well, I can tell you that it feels incredible. The 4-day hike in particular has been one of the most challenging and difficult experiences of my life, but it was definitely worth it. Being at Machu Picchu was amazing. I still cannot believe that I've done it. In some ways, completing this goal has not really changed me. I feel like the same person I was before I did it. But there is a deep sense of satisfaction that I now carry with me that I cannot fully describe.